It's Dr. Linda Goggin from Feel Good Functional Medicine, but you can call me Sunny. And today I'm going to riff on could mold be causing my issues? And if so, what next? This is near and dear to my heart because this is something that I got sick from an exposure to mold back when I had no idea that it could cause a problem. And that's the problem. That's a problem, right? When a physician isn't aware that something can make people sick. I feel fortunate actually to have gotten sick because it opened my eyes to something that affects a lot of people. Um, a huge percentage of older buildings have problems with water damage. And so it's not even just mold, but it is other kind of bacteria, acinetobacteria, that can also create toxic soup that you breathe and can make you sick. So this is something that has been specifically suppressed. The information has been specifically suppressed for financial reasons. And y'all, this will make sense to you, right? Um, uh, Large corporations with money that own buildings that are older, they don't want the idea that a moldy building can make you sick to come out, because then people are liable and it is a lot of money. And I have been personally involved in lawsuits that have found harm, like lots of multifamily lawsuit that involved a military base where there was clear signs of problems. So guys, it's a thing. And there are forces that are trying to hide that it is a thing. And what your doctor will do when you say, oh, maybe I'm sick from mold, your doctor will go to PubMed and they will put in mold illness. And one of the articles that pops up is an article that was written quite a while ago by an allergist that denies that mold is an issue. So the things that you have to understand is that paper was written before we had to do disclosures, before we had to say, yeah, I worked for the defense on a mold litigation case. And so there is a huge amount of body of work of research showing that mold of different types can make you ill. Does that mean that every type of fungus mold you see growing will make you sick? No. In fact, there's some very specific kinds that can get you sick. And it's important that you understand that this can also be a hidden thing. It might be in a wall where a leak was long ago, or a drip, drip, drip that just created the right environment. So many times it can be hidden. I had a patient with chronic daily headaches, and she had these until she turned over her mattress and saw that she was sleeping on a super moldy mattress. It was horrifying. Okay. And so these kind of things happen. What kind of symptoms might you have if you have a mold issue? Well, they're kind of head to toe symptoms. Before I learned about this, they were patients that would come in, and in medical school, they taught you that there's some people who are just more sensitive to their body, and they probably have a psychiatric illness, and that's probably why they have all these symptoms, right? And that's so, I mean, that is, I can't even. When you have all those symptoms, y'all, you have symptoms, and don't let anybody tell you that's all in your head. A very, super, super sweet person who's trying to help me said, well, maybe you have some anxiety, maybe you have depression, when I had everything from, I can't remember anything. That was, one of my primary things was no energy, and I couldn't remember anything. And just really, it was not sticking in my brain. I couldn't repeat a string of 5 numbers. I couldn't remember who I just saw in the office. So I worried I'd have to quit medicine. And this was, and at that point, a naturopath, God love you naturopaths, said to me, hey, you may have a mold exposure. And they had done some meridian testing of me. And that was back when I was first starting to explore the ideas of the energetics of the body and how it affects health. And I knew that this person knew a lot more than I did. And, I am a naturopath wannabe. I'm being a medical doctor trained in conventional medicine, but now I kind of practice like a naturopath, and we're all about reversing root cause. So if you've had a mold exposure and you don't feel good, especially if you have a multi-system, multi-symptom issue, it's really important that you dive a little bit more deeply into the question of it. And so, so after I talked with that naturopath, I decided to go and then look in a little more deeply into mold. And at that point, I was able to ascertain that the problems with my brain, with my swallowing, with pains all over my body, with it's just I had so let's go through the list of things that you can have if you have trouble with mold. Headaches, brain fog, memory problems, sinus trouble. It can seem like an allergy, runny nose, ringing in your ears, difficulty with swallowing, sensation that you've got something in the back of your throat. Think of this as like you are inhaling something that's causing inflammation and causing your body to respond. Sometimes people can have rashes, hives, urticaria, that's another word for hives. They can have difficulty breathing, sharp shooting pains when they're breathing, prickly pains, weird stabbing pains all over their body. That's a thing. When you touch things, if you have a significant amount of mold toxin, you touch things and you like have can have a spark. Like if you're reaching into the freezer, it'll shock you. Or the way that you build up static electricity, but you build it up much more easily because the composition of the salt on your skin changes and you become a little bit more like a battery. You can become more irritable. You can become one thing that I noticed was my skin was just more sensitive. I used to love to have my back tickled. I couldn't stand it anymore. I'm like, oh, don't. I used to love to have my feet rubbed. I couldn't handle it at all when I was in the deepest part of it. I had severe muscle weakness. I really could not do any kind of exercise. In fact, I couldn't exercise enough to even get out of breath because of the weakness in my body. Many people have severe exercise intolerance for respiratory reasons because it can affect your cardiac output. It can affect so many things. Gut problems, the list goes on, guys. Gut problems, urinary frequency, running to the bathroom, can't concentrate your urine as well. People can have high cortisol levels. And when you have high cortisol levels, you're feeling stressed, wired, and it also can contribute to issues with sugar. People can have unexplained weight gain that they're like, I'm eating the same thing and suddenly I just got 10 more pounds on. I got 20 more pounds. Over the last 5 months, I've gained 50 pounds for no reason. I haven't changed anything. I'm still exercising. Let me tell you, you've got to look into these things. Gosh, there's so many other symptoms. So it's just basically a multi-system, multi-symptom constellation. And you can look up a mold quiz, shoemaker quiz, to see if you fall into the umbrella. Now, the tricky thing is that this is a kind of illness called biotoxin illness. Biotoxins also can come from some certain infections. One is stealth infections like Lyme disease, Bartonella, Babesia. And so both of these are under the umbrella of biotoxin illness. And when you have biotoxin illness, it's a mystery to your doctor. They may even check you for Lyme disease and they'll be like, you're in the clear. Take 10 people with Lyme disease, with proven Lyme disease. 3 of them will have a positive conventional test for Lyme disease. And so even the CDC will tell you this is a clinical diagnosis. Lyme is a clinical diagnosis. If y'all don't believe me, go look at the CDC's website. You can use lab tests to support the diagnosis, but it's clinical. That means that we look at the symptoms of the patient and in order to tell if somebody has the thing. And so you need to reverse root cause if you're having a multi-system, multi-symptom illness. And how do we do that? This is also a passion of mine because I've been trying to figure this out for a long time. Honestly, it took years for me to feel like I was back to normal. Okay, it took years. And that's because I was having to seek. So this is to give you information about what are the basic ideas of healing from mold in particular. The first thing is you have to identify it. Okay, can't fix it if you don't know it's there. So if you're feeling crummy, it's time to put on a mask, a serious mask, like, and then look in your crawl spaces. Okay, or have somebody else do it. If you don't feel good, I don't know that you should do it. But look in your crawl spaces, look in your attic. Could you have a leak that's there? Because these toxins are so tiny that they pass right through walls, floors. It does not prevent them from getting to you. Okay. So that's the first thing, identify the issue. Another way you can help to identify the issue is by doing something called an ERMI, E-R-M-I test, or a hurts me. What an acronym, right? H-E-R-S-T-M-I, hurts me. I know that was intentional. Basically, ERMI tests for a lot of molds in the air. It's dust tests. Both of them are dust tests. They're taken the same way. Hurts me is a little more specific because it only tests for those household molds that we know cause illness. All right. So you could save a little money by doing a hurts me. Usually when somebody does an ERMI, in order to see if you might be in a place that's not super safe, they're going to like look at the hurts me values. So they're going to take your ERMI and then calculate a hurts me. So the way that you would do that is by collecting undisturbed dust above waist level, because you don't want stuff that's been tracked in from outside. There's lots of molds outside. So at waist level, you collect the dust that's been settled for six weeks, basically. So you can collect it above door jambs, windowsills, that sort of thing. And then you send it in and it gets analyzed. The other way you can determine, at least it's another data point. Another data point is urine mycotoxin tests. Not everybody agrees on this. When I went through the Shoemaker protocol training, Dr. Shoemaker really is not into urine mycotoxin testing. But I will say that people who are able to start to clear what's coming out of their urine seem to be getting better. Okay. It's something that needs more study. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people trying to work on better ways to quantify whether or not this is an issue for you. The fact is, all of us have a little cup that holds toxins in our body, right? Just picture it as a cup. You may have a big old bucket that catches toxins and they don't bother you, right? That means you have a good ability to clear them. I may have a thimble, which I think I probably have a thimble, right? So that's why I had no transgressions. I got to toe the line. So what your genetics and some of your choices are going to determine how much toxicity you have in your body. That is, how much toxins you've been exposed to through your life are affecting your body. 100% of you have an issue, 100%, maybe not mold, but other things. Okay, there's a test though that you can use right now to see if you may have an issue with toxicity that may prevent you from like mentating later. And that is, everybody take 2 fingers. It's a quick test. I know you can do it. And I want you to touch the edge of your jaw. Okay. I want you to slide that down to the angle of your jaw, and then go to that soft spot right there. Okay. Yeah. Are you feeling a pulse? Yeah. Oh, see there, it's a positive test. You've got an issue with toxicity. So, little joke. But if you have a severe toxin issue and you have many, many symptoms, we have to do something. First thing is, if you can get out and have the out of the place for healing, that's great. What you want to do is fully remediate the mold. And that means you can't go in there with bleach. Number one issue, don't go in there with bleach because that just spreads the spores, okay? Vinegar and water solution might be a way with you all masked up if it's superficial. But if it's grown into construction materials, it must be walled off with plastic. So when you get in there, or whoever gets in there, they have to wall it off so that you are not spreading a bunch to the rest of the house, especially if it's bad toxic mold. Um, so like, for instance, we had a leak in our house. Something was leaking from the ceiling, and I'm like, oh my gosh, tell me no, we just bought the house. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to open that up and see if that's been going on a while, to see if there's mold there. So I went and bought me some plastic, so a bunch of plastic, big roll of plastic, and I made like a little room that opened to the spot where the leak was before we cut a little spot in the wall to look at it. And that allowed me to see that, oh, thank goodness there wasn't any mold there. We suited up, we put on, masks and had it walled off before we opened it up. If there'd been something there, basically mold's growing in there, you must correct the moisture issue that's allowing it to grow. And you also must fully remove the stuff. That means when you're in your little cubicle, you got to cut it out, bag it up in there so you don't carry it through the house, right? You don't want contractors like cutting moldy stuff out and then carrying the sheetrock out through your home. It's very important. And so you want to fully remediate. And sometimes I know that is impossible. If it's impossible, then you must get better, cleaner air. You need to get yourself either a very good air filter, which honestly, Corsi Rosenthal box. This is a DIY air filter that you can get. You take four, look it up. Okay, look up Corsi Rosenthal box. I'll below this YouTube video, I will put a link. But basically, you get a box fan, some duct tape, and four like house filters, and then you make it so the fan is pulling the filters through the fan, pulling the air through the filters to go through the fan, and that way you're catching a lot. And in fact, people have evaluated this, and this is as effective as like $1,000 air filter. It's not as quiet. So that's the thing. I mean, you got a box fan going, but a box fan can be very soothing, right? I go to sleep with a box fan. So you need clean air to start to breathe, and then we need to assist your body in getting these things out. Now, there's two phases. One is you make sure the drainage is open. Naturopaths, they love to say that. So we want to make sure that you're not constipated, everything's moving out, that you're actually sweating. And if you're not sweating, another good sign that you have toxicity. Everybody should sweat, okay? For years, I did not sweat. There was zero sweat coming out of my body. I even would go into a sauna and I couldn't sweat. It hurt my toes so much because my toes would get really, really hot. And I'm like, what am I doing? Well, I had to detox more to start to sweat. And the way, if you can't sweat, you must somehow get yourself to exercise a little bit so you get things rolling. At least that's what I found in my practice, is that somehow starting to do a little bit of exercise with the sauna can help you start to stimulate, and you have to be hydrated. So we need to have plenty of water going in to flush it all out. We have to have the drainage open. We need to be sweating, pooping well. And then once we have the drainage open, we can start to gradually pull it out of our tissues with something called binders. So what are binders? Binders are substances. You may have heard of somebody getting charcoal when they went to the emergency room when they had an overdose or something like that, or seen it on a show like Scrubs or something. I just found out that my friend's brother is like the model for the main person in Scrubs, which is so funny. I'm like, yeah, man. Residency. What a trip that was. Okay, what was I talking about? Okay, binders. So we're pulling out the toxins gradually with binders from our body. So you swallow things like chlorella, bentonite clay, charcoal, these kind of things, and you can match them to whatever is coming out in your urine. Like if you have a significant amount of this toxin, you can actually say, well, we think from studies, and most of these studies are done in the farm world, in agriculture, because they need to make sure that animals don't have mold in their food, so that they figured out what can pull out what. And so taking these binders on a daily basis, and interestingly, one binder that the first binder that was used expressly for mold is actually an old-fashioned cholesterol medicine, cholestyramine. Okay, and Richie Shoemaker uses this in his Shoemaker protocol as the primary binder. He doesn't branch out into other binders. Many of us who see a lot of people with mold do add other binders, but cholestyramine is pretty good. And so these days, if somebody's like their cholesterol is not super great, we got to do something about it, I will often reach for the old-fashioned binder. It binds bile acids, and so it pulls the toxins that are in the bile out with the poop. And so it's interesting. It can also help cholesterol a little bit. That if I ever needed to take a cholesterol medicine, that would be it, because it would be killing two birds with one stone, helping with toxicity and helping with normalizing cholesterol. I mean, I think that cholesterol is misunderstood. And we have to have cholesterol, guys. It's the precursor for all of your hormones. But that's another lecture. Okay, we're back to binders. Taking binders. Some people will get better with binders in isolation. That's all they need to get out of the mold, get it cleaned up, take some binders. I'm not saying it's like right away. Okay, so if you need binders for mold exposure, you probably need binders for life. That's my feeling, is that it's like your canary in coal mine. Join me, canaries together. Some people have been breathing in stuff so long that they may possibly benefit from doing a sequence of antifungal. Okay, once again, talk to your doctor about this. This is my thoughts. Talk to your doctor. But what we do, if somebody, it seems like they're what we call colonized, and maybe they're somehow producing it from themselves, producing the toxins within themselves. Like, for instance, Candida in the gut can make mold toxins. And so what we do then is, first we start with treating the sinuses, like nasal sprays, sniff, sniff, and with both a biofilm agent, and you do a progression. We'll start with a little bit of something like Argentin 23, which is, both antifungal, antibacterial. And sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, my sinus has finally cleared up, right? So we'll do nasal sprays first. And after the nasal sprays are going, you layer it on. If somebody's not feeling back to better, then you keep layering, and then you continue the protocol until they are better, until their urine doesn't have any stuff in it anymore. So nasal protocol, and then you go to gut protocol, doing the same thing here, but then you just do it orally, right? Argentin 23, biocidin is a good biofilm breaker. Biocidin's magic, y'all. Okay, if you don't know about biocidin and you hate getting colds, you need to get some of this. And if you feel something coming on, you're like every hour. Biocidin is really amazing. But there's also nasal spray. So we would be squirting those up our nose, then doing it internally, and following your symptoms. You got to follow your symptoms if you are having issues. Many people with mold toxicity have also histamine issues. That is, they seem allergic to everything. They can't. I've seen people who could only eat like chicken and broccoli. That was it, because everything else gave them a reaction. They couldn't stand smells, chemical smells. And they had all these symptoms and all these sensitivities, and you get to where you're like sort of scared to live, like scared to be in your body, because your body is like totally not cooperating. So how do we deal with that? I've talked about this one before. Everybody, if you've got a lot of symptoms, the Curable app is where it's at. The Curable app can help reduce your sensitivity, help reduce your pains, reduce your symptoms. And then we also want to make sure that we are looking at looking at the other root causes. Could there be tick-borne illness there? So the other way besides the Curable app is Annie Hopper DNRS, Dynamic Neural Retraining System, or the Gupta program. Love those programs. People, you really, if you're healing from mold, multi-symptom illness, you absolutely must do the mind-body work, because your mind is basically accentuating how you're feeling. So with that, my friends, I want to say, if you want more information about this right now, I've got a free course that any of my customers, my LifeWave customers, any of my brand partners, and any customers of my brand partners and brand partners of my brand partners. So anybody in my organization can access a free course with coaching like this from me. So if you're interested, you can worry about your maybe molds thing. The way to get access to that free course is to try a phototherapy patch, which I feel I attribute to, 60% of my healing. When I had a patient bring me these patches, and I was feeling better, but not yet great. And when when somebody told me you should try this light patch, I'm like, a light patch? That sounds sort of weird. I tried it, and it changed my life. So I got so much better using the LifeWave X39 patch. And so I would love to share with you more information about how to heal from complex medical illness, which is what we call mold and Lyme. And you just have to reach out to me. Below, you'll find there's contact information. You put Energy for Life in the title, and then you can learn how to get access to my healing community, my anti-aging community. Y'all want to stay young? You know what I just did? I just bought myself a Christmas present. Don't tell my husband. I just bought myself a basketball hoop and a basketball, and I bought myself a necklace that has a little basketball on it. I'm serious, you guys. Well, because this is the year of granny basketball. I'm going to start a league. There's not a league anywhere near me. Who wants to play some granny basketball? You got to be 50. So we're not going to take any of you youngins. You have to be at least 50 to play granny basketball. You actually have to wear bloomers. Oh, yes. Yes. It's going to be so fun. No experience necessary. So you Bellinghamsters, or anywhere in the Bellingham area, you need to reach out to me to be on the basketball team, because we're going to have so much fun. We're going to do the wave. We're going to cheer. It'll be so fun. No experience necessary. Okay. So I'm going to say bye-bye to my streamers. I love you all. I love you. I love you. I want to help you. So reach out to me, and hopefully I'll see you in my community, our community.